Hello there friends, Duke of Haze Plays here. Thank you once again for allowing me into your homes. This is episode 29, the final part of our Divine Divinity walkthrough gameplay Let's Play series. This is it, babes. This is the final, we fight the final boss in this one. We see the end cutscene. It's been a long, crazy journey. I am sorry that there was about 4 hours of missing footage, but eventually we will do another playthrough of this and I'll have all of the footage and it'll probably be close to the same amount of time. I'm not quite sure, but if you've liked the video series, please consider liking, disliking, commenting, subscribing to this channel, to my main channel where I'm currently documenting a weight loss journey. We are down to 215 as of today's weigh-in. But yeah, thanks for watching. All these fights are kind of the same. Oh, this is Moriander.
Did you really think you could just walk in here and kill me, dullard? Feel my power!
Bitch. And that's why we always save. Keep moving, asshole.
You think you've defeated us? Ah, don't you know what we've achieved for our Dark Lord?
Just go away. Like, I've seen cheapness before, but this takes the cakes. What's the matter, Gertrude? What's the matter, sweetie? Definitely agree that she is the hardest boss. Hard is, I don't know, man. I feel like while that's true, like the hard part is that you can't answer any of her cheapness. 12 speed, huh? Like, there's not an answer to what she does. Like, there's no such thing as blind immunity. As far as I know, I looked at every single skill possible. Can't make yourself immune to blind, because if you could, that would be her whole, like, she would be easily destroyed at that point, because that's her whole thing. I figure if there was blind immunity in the game, then she would just become trivial. Like, yeah, she would still hit you for a lot of damage. That part would stay true. Did I come up this way? I must have. No, there's a... That bit was unexplored. What, baby? What's the matter? What's the matter, Gertrude? Yeah, her whole shtick is, well, you're blinded, now you can't see me, and... Like, the Death Knight that she summons is a big nothing burger. Like, with Aura of Command, I could use him against her, but it doesn't matter that she could as easily kill him, too, so... What? What's your matter, Gertrude? I don't know, I don't like whenever enemies are cheaply designed. Usually if an enemy is cheap, then you can, like, find a way to be cheap back, but can't even do that, dude. It's cool, she's dead, so I'll stop talking about it. I guess my advice is, if your game keeps crashing, lure her out of the room, and then... For the love of God, hit her that first time, or else just reload until you get a hit off on her. Because, yeah, she's cheap as hell. Aura of Guarding, which means she takes no... Be careful, Gertrude. She takes no physical damage from you. Hit her with Curse so that, you know, she has lowered resistances, lower dodge chance. Like, Curse is definitely an S tier skill, I would say. But without any sort of ability to get rid of blind or... prevent blind, you reset the fight until you're not blinded. That's all I can say. Oh, and yeah, lure her out of that room so the game doesn't crash. Like, maybe it's not crashing for you, and if that's the case, then it's gonna be way less annoying for you. Because even if all the other dudes are hitting on me, they can't hit me. If they're hitting me, they can't hit me. I have so much dodge and shit that I'm barely taking any damage from most things. But the game just decides to shit itself whenever that's happening, and it crashes every time. So that must mean that if there's too many enemies on the screen, the game can't handle it, or something else was causing the game to crash in that situation, and the only way I found to fix it was to pull her away out of the room from all the other enemies and kill her that way. So if you're having trouble, the game is crashing in that room, try doing that. And when I told you earlier to get that frost weapon, I meant it, because she's a really annoying enemy. Her specifically, all the other ones are not as annoying as she is. I don't remember them being annoying anyway. But blind makes that fight way more annoying than it needs to be. But again, that's all they can do. Like, even if you could blind her, which I'm guessing you can, because again, there are rules for them and rules for you. You don't have to pass any sort of check for it either. It just blinds you. It just works right out of the box. Yeah, she makes herself immune to physical damage for a short period of time, and she blinds you. The blind is the worst part. Just don't be blind, lol, and you'll be fine. That's all it boils down to. Level up! Sorcerer Lord's Long Dagger. Yeah, I wonder if there is like some sort of thing that makes you immune to blind in this game. If there is, I'd love to know what it is. Level 49, this might be the last level we end up getting, because last time that's as high as I got on our mage character, was up to level 49. On Qui-Gon, the mage, who, for whatever reason, did not have as much trouble as this character did. Couldn't tell you why. Probably because I used Divine Blessing, Heaven's Blessing, I don't know. I don't know why. But the game wasn't crashing in that room last time I fought her, so I don't know, dude. I don't know what to tell you. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Good. So yeah, 184 agility is what you need for, well, for a rogue at least. Because hit cap is 94%. Even though, like, the game facts guide I read said that it was 95. I wonder what's up with that. So yeah, invisible enemies with true sight, but I don't know what I should be picking. I don't know. I'll just get the final point and repair, dude. Nothing I could have done in that fight outside of not die. The not dying is the hardest part. Think that's everything. Put my boots back on. Yeah, don't know what the answer to that question is. One of these days I'll have to look. Like I said, it's hard finding stuff on this game. Like, well, people who make it interesting anyway. As someone who has ADD, never been diagnosed with it, but I'm pretty sure I have at least a mild form of it. I don't think it's ADHD, but I do feel like I mean, you notice it if you've watched any of my VODs for any extended period of time. You'll know that, like, something will catch my attention and then I'll never get back to the point that I was making. After editing my videos, I feel like, oh man, I probably frustrate people because I was saying something and then the thought never comes to a final conclusion because I got sidetracked by something else. Point being, anytime I try to watch a playthrough on this game, there's not a lot of info about it. Like, nobody I've seen, anyway, that, like, knows this game inside and out. It's not like, you know, for example, with DOS 2, you watch somebody like Grey Nunse because that dude knows the game inside and out. Manithro knows DOS 2 inside and out, so if you want to understand the game at a deeper level, you watch those dudes play through the game because they've done the game inside and out. Like, they know everything there is to know about it. So the point I'm trying to make with that is, like, I don't know who is the person to go searching for who knows this game inside and out, who I would, like, be able to learn from them, like, all of the secrets and whatnot. And I just don't mean, like, quest secrets. I mean specifically, like, enemy secrets, specifically hacks and stuff that do not lick the microphone. What is wrong with you? What is the matter with you, huh? Sit down. Sit down, please. Thank you. Please and thank you. What's the matter with you? You always want cuddles, which is not a bad thing, but at the same time, I'm busy. If you would just stay there while I click my mouse, that would be great. I'm just saying, just sit still for a little bit. That's all. She just wants a little bit, and then she leaves, and then she's gonna come back and want more, and then she's gonna leave again. Please don't crash in this room. I notice there's a lot of stuff in here, so please don't crash.
A pity that you wasted
Demona.
I'm going to send you straight back there now.
Well, come and get me, hot stuff. Oh yeah, these other bosses are like a joke compared to her. Like, please don't crash, dude. Like, I don't know where my last save is, and there's a bunch of shit on the screen, and I don't want the game to crash.
No, it can't end this way. I plan to do so much.
Oh, haven't we all? Normally, these stupid gold gargoyles don't do anything to you, but only in this instance will they follow me out of the room to attack me. The stone ones, yeah, they do. Lich's heavy plate belt. 1 charm quality? Yikes. It's not even worth picking up, dude. The gold ones don't even do anything, to be fair. Like, only if you get close to them will they come up and, like, do something to you. The stone ones, though, they will attack you. Control S, because I sure as hell don't want to fight. Well, she's easy. I wouldn't mind fighting her again. But, see what I mean? Frost weapon is just so good. And you'd be, I don't know, it'd be an extra challenge to force yourself to not use a frost weapon. Not me, though. Again, if the game's gonna be cheap to me, I'm gonna be cheap to the game. That's part of the fun. Like in Skyrim, you ever play Skyrim on Legendary? Like, it's fun, especially if you have a mod like Deadly Wenches. You legit cannot play on Legendary with Deadly Wenches installed without being geared to the teeth with crazy powerful enchantments, because those enemies are ridiculous. It's not balanced around you playing on Legendary. Like the dude even says in the description, he's like, play the game on Expert, because if you play on Legendary, it's going to be annoying, and it is. You learn very quickly that in Legendary Skyrim, you need to be geared to the teeth for certain encounters, but that's part of the fun. Like, I like, you know, if I'm playing Skyrim on normal difficulty, it quickly becomes boring, because challenge in Skyrim equates to the enemies always being able to hit you because they can track your movements. Even if you dodge out of them, like, let's say like this two-handed warrior is running up and doing a power attack on you, right? And you like shift left, he always tracks to where you are, so it's impossible not to get hit in Skyrim by a melee character. Even like a ranged character, you kind of have to like juggle your character back and forth, and maybe they'll shoot you like incorrectly, but they always have like perfect accuracy in Skyrim, and it's nutty. Point being, like, it's cool in that game, like playing a destruction mage and you can cast your spells for free. That's fun. Like, mana management is like boils down to, do you have a bunch of potions? Drink those. I don't know, man. I like playing the way I play. That's all I can say, really. And it's fun making super duper powerful enchantments. That's why I like enchanting my gear so much in this game. It's just that even in Skyrim, they don't put up something that you can't kill easily. Well, easily is subjective, but even in Skyrim, it's like I never run up against something that like, oh man, I cannot kill this thing, because if they get a hit in edgewise, I'm just dead. Like, there's a little bit more balance in a game like that. In DOS 2, it's not really balanced either. Like, I would say Larian's kind of famous for unbalanced games. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3. You would think that the whole point, like, because in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, you can make your character super powerful, but I don't know how it is in BG3. But like in DOS 1 and 2, your character's actually super duper like nerfed for a lot of it. Like, you should see the hit chance in DOS 1. Like, holy crap. If you play a melee, you can't play a mage in DOS 1. Because they went to a more CRPG style in the original Sin games. So all of your actions now cost action points. And just a basic ass fireball costs you 7. It's like impractical to play a mage in DOS 1. And I remember like a long time ago, my friend talked about like an alchemist build in DOS 2, which is like borderline impossible because consumables don't scale with you. I'm sure with mods and shit you could do all kinds of crazy stuff, but I'm just talking about base game straight out of the box. In DOS 2, you can't really do like an alchemist build, which is like you rely on making consumables and then using the consumables to deal damage. In DOS 1, though, an alchemist build is not only viable, but it's like the strongest build in the game. Because consumables actually deal damage in that game, and they're super easy to make. But in DOS 2, like, I mean, well, it's pretty normal that everybody has like a 95% base hit chance, but like, it always feels like 95% chance to hit is closer to 80. It feels like you miss a lot more often, just because there must be like a hidden number, like modifier in there that just makes you miss more often. But at that point, you can actually get your hit chance to 100 in that game, so that becomes not a problem. The problem with that game is that late game, you better have a build that works, and 2, you need to kill them before they kill you. Like, there's no other way for me to say that other than, I mean, that's the obvious, right? But it's really bad in DOS 2. Like, if you let them do anything to one of your characters, they will kill you. It doesn't matter how much gear you have or how much perceived armor you have, because armor's not really a thing in DOS 2. You have shields that are either based on magic damage or physical damage. So you need to deal enough physical damage to an enemy to first break their shield, and then you can start dealing health damage to them. And that game is really focused on CCing your enemies to stop them from taking their turn, because if they take their turn, you die, pretty much. On Tactician, at least. On normal, they're still dangerous on like normal, but Tactician, if they're allowed to have a turn, you just die. And so in DOS 2, you need to break through their shields. Mages have a lot harder time in DOS 2 because like so many of the game's enemies are super resistant to like magic. So you need to know basically every single enemy you fight, you need to know what their resistances are, what you can do to fight them, which is why in that game the best possible build is Necromancer. Well, the best specific build. Like, what am I trying to say? Like, because you can do a lot of cool, weird things in Divinity Original Sin 2. Like, a Barrelmancer is whenever you load up a chest full of really heavy objects, and then you use telekinesis to, like, push the object through people, and you kill them with it. Which sounds like fun, and it is fun. It's funny to see. Like, to see your character move this, like, heavy-ass chest that weighs a bunch of, like, who knows, like, as much as a car or some crazy amount. And things just die when you push the thing through them. Like, it's funny, but also deals a lot of damage. But the, like, the highest damaging move, I think, was, unstable. And you need to, like, set up your character. You need to set the game up in a very specific way for unstable to work. Because unstable causes, like... I don't know if it's physical. It must be physical damage, but... No, Gertrude, Gertrude! Oh, now I'm gonna have to reload into the game. Bad girl. Every time with this. Every time.
Anyway.
What was I saying? I was talking about... Unstable, which you deal... I don't know if it's... It must be physical, but... You deal damage after your character dies. Your character explodes, and you deal an ass ton of damage to everything around you. It's called a meme build because, like, it's not supposed to be viable. It is viable, but you have to play the game in a very specific way. Like, you have to... One, you obviously can't do it solo because the game will instantly be over as soon as you die, and you'll have to reload. So you have to set it up in such a way that you have, like, a second character in your party that can always bring you back with, like, a resurrection scroll. But you do a lot of damage. Like, I'm talking about Grey Nunse. He did, like, one of every possible build imaginable. Lich's Long Dagger of Bleeding. Lich's Long Dagger of Crap. But I wholly recommend him if you want to understand the game's mechanics inside and out. But a build that's more normal and doesn't require a whole lot of setup is something like Necromancer. And that's because Necromancer is a spellcaster that deals physical damage. And there's only, like, 1 or 2 enemies in the entire game that resist physical damage. And they are very rare. So in DOS 2, you're better off, like, just what's easy. Did I click this or what, dude? Physical damage is king. It has some of the best CCs possible and doesn't have any resistances. So a Necromancer, for example, their abilities can't miss and they deal a butt ton of damage. Like, if I was going to put a tier system, right, you'd have, like, Necromancer in S tier, and then, like, every other physical build in A tier, and then any other elemental magic in probably B tier. So you don't really think of that game in terms of, like, classes and stuff, because any character can learn any ability, just like in this game. Really, it's like, do you deal physical damage or do you deal magical damage? If you deal physical damage, then you're pretty good to go. The only thing that doesn't work is if you try to go outside the game's systems. Like, consumables don't do anything, so trying to do something like an alchemist build is... It's probably not impossible, but it is very slow and agonizing, and you're gonna hate your life. At least I would, because if you can only deal damage by, like, throwing canisters and stuff, and canisters deal a very tiny amount of damage, like, it's just almost impossible, like, late game for you to do something like that. Like, late game with enemies' abilities to constantly restore their shields and stuff, like their barriers, at that point it becomes something very unviable and unfun. But if you're playing in a group of people, then you can do whatever you want practically, just because a lot of the slack will be picked up by your teammates. So even if your build is like a meme or borderline unviable, like, as long as 2 people have a build that works in DOS 2, you can get away with playing a not so good build. But I was talking about that game to mention how it's also, like, the strategy in that game comes from you just one-shotting your enemies, because if you let them hit you, you just die. The main strategy is to CC your enemies so that they don't take a turn, because if they take a turn, you die. One of these days we'll do a playthrough of it, for sure. It's just I always get kind of apprehensive playing a really... Well, there's not a whole lot of viewers of it now on Twitch, but people, like I said, they have these ideas about how a game should be played, and if you play any way that's outside of the way that they play it, then you're doing it wrong, or you're being cheap, or whatever they can come up with to make themselves seem superior to you, because that's all it is at the end of the day, is they need a reason to have pride in themselves, and this is all they have. That's the way I see it anyway. Like, they play this game in a not cheap way, so, you know, that means that they're valuable in some way, shape, or form, which is, like, sad, because it's like, man, you really should be valuing yourself outside of a video game, and what has happened throughout your life to to be valued in those terms. I don't know, just seems really sad to me. The terminally online, I just feel like usually pity for them. Like, I can't imagine being that miserable, realistically, right? Like, it sounds like a very miserable existence to me. That's why I was lucky enough to be born in the late 80s, so the internet wasn't quite as big of a thing when I was a kid, so I was raised outside of the box, so to say. And so I learned how to interact with people. I don't like interacting with people, right? But that doesn't mean I didn't learn how to do it, and that doesn't mean that I don't know how to play the social game. Because really, it is a game of its own. Best viewers on blank. Oh man, I'm gonna have to ban these bots. I'm gonna have to exit out just so I can ban this stupid bullshit, dude. First and foremost, ban this dude. And then we have to report spam, scammer, bots. Selling viewers. That's all it is. There you go. You know, whenever you don't have a also block, I guess it doesn't really matter. You know, when you don't have any sort of moderation team, you gotta do the shit yourself, which is fine. Part of the gig is part of the job. Part of the ship, part of the crew. Or is it part of the crew, part of the ship? I forget. Point being, best viewers on Ash. I don't know, it was blurred, so I don't blur too many words outside of really, the only things that I have blurred on my chat list are slurs. Homophobic slurs and racial slurs are blurred in my chat, so. Well, if it isn't Cornelius, I don't know what he said, but.
See Wizard Sandalar.
It wouldn't have made sense if it was ass or the F slur.
This time, I'll
Who knows?
finish you off myself.
Bitch. The other cuss words are not blurred though. But hate speech is something I can't get down with. Don't really get down with the hate speech. Come on, get down with the hate speech. But don't do that. Clown. Yeah, it's crazy how, like, these other dudes pale in comparison to Josephina. Like, Josephina really is wacky. The wackiest of tobacco. That's everywhere, right? This is where we came in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we got all of them. So now we have to walk our asses back to the center platform and go all the way up over here. Excuse me. If we could go back to Croxy and try to buy other stuff, but it feels really unnecessary at this point. I should have buffed myself with Heaven's Blessing. I keep forgetting to do that. It's just that I feel like it's not necessary. Probably would have made it go by faster, but if like it's a % increase, it's not like a flat increase, so it scales with you. Like I have what, 179 strength, so 10% of that, well, let's say is 18 times 4, 40 plus 8 times 4 is 32. 70. Wait, 40 plus what? 32, 72? I think. It's hard for me to do math in my head. Like, I've never been that level of intelligent. I mean, intelligence is measured in different ways. You learn that as you study education, but there are some people who are really good at multiplying numbers in their head. I'm not one of those people, is what I'm trying to say. That's not where my talents lie. My talent lies in being a very dry person. I'm good at analyzing things and explaining things. I can see formulas and understand equations based on formulas and stuff. Like, I have an algebraic mind. Like, it's easy for me to view things as a formula and plug in the bits, plug in the different bits. But, yeah. Multiplying numbers in my head, not so much. Like big numbers, I guess, you know, like 40% of, like, it's easy whenever it's like 100, because 40% of 100 is 40, like that shit is easy. So if I were to round it all the way up to 200, then I could say, oh, it's about 80, you know, but it's not very accurate. So 72 is what I said, right? So that must be correct, because if it was 200 strength that I had, it would be 80, so 72 seems about right. And even then, it's not that clear cut, because I have 179 or whatever I said it was. It wasn't a number that was easily divided and multiplied. Yeah, anytime I fight these boss dudes, I really should buff myself. I really should, just so that I can kill them faster. I don't know, I think, well, I mean, it would be a little full of myself to say, I think I'm funny, but the people who like me and like my humor think I'm funny, is all I can really say. Either people get my humor or they don't. It's one of those things. But my humor is not edgelord humor, because I think that shit is cheap. Like, I was never really like an edgy person who said slurs and shit, because, well, as someone who is Latino, I'm kind of a minority, so you play the social game a little differently when you know that you're in a different position of social hierarchy, social power. You'll see the Constitution says we're all equal, but, you know. if the cops were to show up at my house and I was like being called a criminal, they would trust a person who, I don't know, getting into racial shit is ultimately not a good thing. But point being, if my skin was darker, like some of my family members, you can rest assured that I would be treated way, way more differently. And even then, like, people can just tell. Like, there was this one time, I told this story to, I don't think I've ever told it on stream, but a long time ago, when my best friend used to live here, now they kind of live in Colorado, they kind of don't. They are constantly all over the world doing whatever they want. They're a professor at the University of Boulder, but it feels like they never ever have to work. I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know if they ever got tenured, but like, I don't know, I don't really ask because it seems rude to say, like, do you ever have to actually work? Because it feels like you're always on sabbatical or you're always doing something not actually work. But, you know, I don't want to come off as an a-hole by saying that. Even though I might be thinking it, it's like, man, you're gonna go to Japan for 3 months? I'm super jealous. But at the same time, it's like, don't you have work? That's where we met each other, was in Japanese class. No, it's the baby. Little boy. Oh, he froze me. I was the one frozen this time. Like, see, I don't take damage from his magical attacks. It's just me being frozen is annoying. That's the part that sucks, because I can't do anything. I know what they feel like now. Come as a bitch. I don't actually like that song. Well, I like the original. I don't know. I know it's kind of cool to hate on JoJo Siwa. I don't care ultimately who she is or what she does because she's not for me. She exists for the newer generation of people to either like or dislike. I have no opinion on a lot of the more current quote-unquote pop stars. Quote-unquote pop, quote-unquote stars. It's not meant for me at the end of the day. So I don't really feel much about what she does. I mean, yeah, she says ignorant shit. Like, she's the first gay pop star or whatever fucking nonsense she said. She wants to make something called gay pop, which, like, the fuck does that even mean? As in, you want to be a gay person making music? Because that shit's already happened. What does gay music sound like? Is there a stereotypical sound to what gay music sounds like? There's all these fucking questions you could ask. But that's what happens whenever you put a microphone in front of somebody who's not fully mature and who has viewed the world through a lens of, like, their mother constantly putting them in pageants and shit to be perfect and to be perceived as a star because her mother wasn't pretty enough or good enough to be a star, so she's basically forced her daughter to do all that shit, which is just terrible. But, you know, if you can ask questions to someone who's like, what is she, like 22 or something? She's young. Like, she's still a kid. She hasn't lived long enough to understand shit really well. And so she's prone to just say things and not really understand anything. But that's because she just hasn't lived long enough to gain that wisdom. So to judge her for being young and ignorant, I mean, we were all young and ignorant at one point. It's just that whenever we were young and ignorant, there wasn't a camera on us and a microphone in our face. That's the main difference.
What the?
So yeah, did she say some pretty ignorant stuff? Sure. Does she hyperinflate her ego and importance? Yes, but you know, she's young. Her music is highly produced. It's like that Krusty Krab episode where, you know, the big corporate chain takes over the Krusty Krab and all the burgers look the same and the insides are just gray, dark matter, gray garbage. That's basically what music is nowadays. There's no soul. There's nobody doing anything different, unique. Like, I don't listen to the radio anymore. I don't even know who's popular anymore. All I do is listen to my music from the late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. There are a couple of Dua Lipa songs I actually like. But, like, then I tried, like, going on Spotify and listening to all of her albums. And, like, so much of it is, like, boring. So it's like, well, damn, I hear all these good songs on the radio, but, like, I don't even know the name of them. I don't know. But, like, Dua Lipa is probably one of the more recent artists who I've kind of like, okay, I can get down with that. I can kind of fuck with this. I can fucks with that. Other than that, All of that just because I said Karma's a bitch, and I don't even remember why I said Karma's a bitch. But yeah, you know, she's just immature. That's it. That's it at the end of the day. She doesn't have the wisdom that comes with like living your life for a certain number of years. Hard lessons learned and all that jazz. You know, that whole chestnut. There's the baby right there. Apparently there was a baby, like they didn't talk about them kidnapping a baby to put the soul of the demon lord inside of it. That baby's name is Damien because of course it is. That's a reference to, well, unless, so I'm seeing it as a reference to The Omen, which was a horror film in the late 70s where the Antichrist was born as a part of a ritualistic Satan worshipping thing, and Damien was the name of that kid. It wasn't really his kid. They killed his kid secretly, and they like kind of cucked him. It's a cuckoo. It's weird because the word cuck comes from the word cuckoo, and cuckoos are birds who are tricked into raising other people's kids. That's where the word cuck comes from. It's turned into this whole other thing where dudes who are, I don't know what the fuck, they have inferiority I don't get it personally. It's not something I'm personally interested in. I'm a very possessive person, so take that as you will. That's just me being honest and open, but I have no interest in watching my loved ones being intimate with other people, we'll say, so I don't get demonetized. Not for me. But the point I'm trying to make is that cuckoo, like a cuckoo's nest. Maybe people say cuckoo. I thought it was cuckoo this whole time, but they're basically birds who are tricked into raising other birds' kids because they'll lay their eggs in someone else's nest and then they leave. And so, point being, Damien, the demon child from The Omen, was not really the guy's kid. He was the Antichrist. And there's lots of spooky stuff that happens in it. But he was called Damien, this kid is called Damien, and he's mentioned in other Divinity games, but I feel like you had to have had played the other Divinity games to get the full story, because, you know, you hear what's-his-face, his name is Gareth, who again might be the Gareth from this game, the soldier that we helped out, that's not clear. But Gareth basically tells Lucian's real son, because Lucian adopts Damien. That's kind of a spoilers, I guess. But Lucian adopts this kid, and he has a biological kid named Alexander. And Alexander's one of the antagonists in DOS 2. Kind of antagonist, kind of not. He's walking down a different path than you, and you guys are both trying to walk down the same path, but he is, for a long part of the game, an antagonist towards you, and you both are kind of vying for the same spot almost. He's trying to be divine, you're trying to be divine. Ultimately, though, he's part of the enemy faction. But in the game, at some point, Gareth goes to see him, and Gareth used to be part of the Magisters, or I don't know, they're called Seekers now, but it's not very clear. Like, he was in the army, he worked with Lucian the Divine, that's all he says, so that's what makes me believe that Soldier Gareth that we helped out earlier is the same one. Makes me think that Soldier Gareth is the Gareth from DOS 2, but he says, "You are not Damien." If you, like, persuade him to not attack or take his vengeance on Alexander, he's like, "You're not Damien, you're not Damien," and he walks away. That's if you want to get, like, his good ending, you have to convince him to not attack Alexander. And so, like, what does that mean? I don't know. There are lots of little bits and pieces when it comes to, like, the lore of this game that you're just unsure of. At least I am. Because, you know, the tricky thing about game lore and game stories is that... Somebody attacking me? The tricky thing is if you make sequels to a game and then change things in the sequel to... Oh, look, there's a... Is that door? No, I don't want to click on that because it'll probably send me all the way to the beginning. Huh, that door's flashing. That's weird. At least that's what happened last time. I clicked on some random wall that said Object 6204 or whatever it was. But the tricky thing about, you know, you do one game, you don't know if you're going to do another. You don't know if your first game is going to be successful or whatever. And so the story changes in these games to be different. And then they have to go back and find a way to tie them together so it becomes like sloppy. Lore becomes sloppy a lot of the time, so you're not sure how things are supposed to fit. Oh, look, we made it to level 50. Okay, so sweet. Holy wackadoo, I didn't make it to 50 on my last character, so wisdom is enough to give you 1 extra point at the end of everything. We'll all be yep, still hit cap, so 184 is what you need to be hit cap for like the whole game by the looks of it. Interesting. But yeah, and like I said, in the Divinity universe there are like 3 universal factions, and it's not entirely clear which faction the Lord of Chaos is, because clearly he's is a demon, and demons are their own thing that are not the void. So it's all a little muddled. I have 2 points, huh? Well, we got repair done. Repair, man. I don't know, spiritual, and maybe lightning damage, I don't know. Could have probably put these somewhere else. Like I said, I'm not privy on what's overpowered in this game. Melee appears to be the best possible one. The only thing that sucks about melee is if you get hit by blind, then you're SOL. Then you're just kind of a sitting duck. But we're here, the main enemy of this game is the Lord of Chaos. The kid at the end is Damien. That kid is apparently an antagonist at some point, I don't know when. We're gonna get there though, we're gonna do all the Divinity games at some point, but like I said, WoW's new expansion is releasing next week, as a matter of fact. So that's what I'm gonna be doing, is playing through my first 70 to 80 characters in that game. But I also want to pick like one day out of the week or something where we do a game that isn't World of Warcraft, so that we can do other things and have like variety content. So the next game we'll be playing is Beyond Divinity. But in Beyond Divinity, they only make slight mentions of Damien. They call him the Damned One. That's all they call him in Beyond Divinity. And in that game, it's a little weird because instead of there being one dude, there's two dudes, and you guys are like linked to each other spiritually. You guys kind of like, your souls are linked. Don't know how it, like, I vaguely remember how it happened, like, but your souls are linked, and if one of you dies, the other dies. So it's, the challenge comes to where, you know, you're trying to make it to where, oh, there's 2 Death Lords in here. I was wondering why that one took so long to kill. Hold on, dude. I'll get back to you in a second. But in Beyond Divinity, like, you take control of 2 dudes, and your main job is to ensure that both of them stay alive. First Assassin's Bow of Haste. Okay, that's a load of trash. I wonder what that did. But he's just called the Damned One in that game. So something happens in between now and then to where the kid grows up and he's still evil, despite Lucian whatever, despite your character adopting him and trying to make him good. Like I said, there's a whole lot of information that's missing, so until I have that information, I'm just going off of loose ideas that I vaguely am aware of instead of knowing the full depth of it. He's over there. But yeah, apparently the Lord of Chaos is alive and well, I guess, or part of his soul is alive and well. Again, it's not really clear what any of that means. But I didn't really finish the other point, is that like there were 3 factions in the Divinity universe. It's like there's the Void, there's the living races, the mortal races, whatever you want to call them, and then there's demons. And you encounter all of them in the other games. Like, you encounter demons who are doing shit for their own nefarious deeds. The mortal races are just sort of there hanging out. And the Void is the main antagonist of DOS 2. See, the weird thing to me, though, is that, like, when they talk about the Lord of Chaos being pissed off that the mortal races are a thing, the 7 races, it sounds very similar to, like, why the Black Emperor, the Black King, who was the original king of the Eternals, who was the first race that inhabited this planet or this world. Again, not entirely clear what a lot of this stuff means, but if you've ever seen or played DOS 2, Fane is an Eternal, an original one. He's not like a Void-woken undead. They're called the Woken in that game. In this game, they're called the Marked Ones, chosen by the gods to blah blah blah, go on an adventure, blah blah. So the God Woken, which is what your main character is called, you're basically a Marked One, but you're not called a Marked One in that game, you're called a God Woken. So there are the God Woken and the Void Woken. Void Woken are dudes that are usually brought back from the dead to do the will of the original, the Black King. Because as that game explains, the source, which again is mentioned in this game, and then you're not sure what the hell it means, because it doesn't finish explaining what it is. But this game talks about the source, and that it's used by healers to tap into it, and it's created by life. That's all they said. It's like the Force. It's the life force. And the healers in Alarath talk about losing connection to it. That's all they say. And I don't remember that plot point going anywhere. I remember Mardanius tells us that he's trying to figure out why the source is being lost. And like a bunch of the other healers in Alarath say the same thing. They don't know why the source is disappearing. And so it feels like they used that plot thread to weave together all of the other story. But again, I'm only going off bits and pieces of information. I don't have the full story yet. Don't have the full story, I'm afraid. Okay, I don't want the game to freak out. Let me kill all these idiots first, dude. I'm a little gun shy after the game crashed on me that last time. The less enemies, the better, because then the game won't have an excuse to freak out on me. But yeah, they just talk about, oh yeah, the source is disappearing. And you just say, okay, what is the source? It's the life force. It's created by all living things, and we manipulate it in order to do really powerful healing magic, and that's all. That's all you know about it. And so they took that and just ran with it, like, okay, so now the source is like the main thing. Source this, source that. Source hunters, like they really went full blown on like that's what their universe was going to be about, was the source. The original Sin games together is called the Source Saga. And so if you want to put this together in a weird chronological order, like DOS 1 comes before like all of the other things, I think. So it might be DOS 1 and then maybe this game. And then at some point Divinity 2's in there, Beyond Divinity's in there. And then DOS 2, I think. But again, it's hard to tell. You just don't know. But here we are, at the end of the game, fellas. Get Aura of Command ready for this. Well, let me pre-buff. It shouldn't be that hard of a fight. It wasn't that hard last time we did it. It's just, you never know. If the game crashes, it'll be really annoying.
I can smell you, Divine One. You are here somewhere.
Can you not see me?
Too late. I have completed the summoning of the Chaos Lord. Now,
I thought he was the Lord of Chaos.
your living heart.
Don't correct me. He's my sovereign, not yours. Okay, so he summons a copy of himself. Now I take control of his copy.
You work for me now.
Isn't it great whenever you take control of their stuff, dude? Oh, he's dead. I'm like, what's going on? So that's the Sword of Lives. I see that. And it's like, okay, so did we, like, remove his soul from it? It's like, oh man, I gotta pull out my ceremonial dagger to kill this child. But he can't do it. He can't kill the kid. He can't kill the baby, and so you leave with the baby. Well, that's the end of that, marked one. The hell was that? Okay, so that's the statue that Ozoma was talking about, but it's like Sven Lar Wink. Is it Winka? Yeah, very good, very good. We finished the game. I needed to finish the game. Lead programmer as well. Very good. This has been Divine Divinity. Larian Studios' first game. They're famous for, like I said, DOS 2. They're more famous currently for Baldur's Gate 3, but we will play through all of their games eventually. But it is time for me to eat something. There was a little bit of a shorter stream today. When we come back, it's going to probably be World of Warcraft stuff, but we'll also be doing Beyond Divinity in the in the interim. I think that makes sense, yes. But I hope you guys enjoyed the whole series. If you like it, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. Thanks for following me here on Twitch. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.